In this episode, I'll be reviewing Wizardry. What's that, you say? It was already released? Well, not this version. This Super Nintendo game collects all 3 Wizardry games from the NES, and for some odd reason, this was never released in the United States. Take a good look at this cool title screen. Its mellow colors giving you a calm and relaxing feeling. Cherish it, for the rest of the game is a frustrating headache. Select the first book and then go into the options screen and change every single word that says Japan into English so that you can read the translation. At the beginning of the game, all my characters died after a few battles, so I just reset the game and started over. Of course, then I made it harder on myself by creating characters and using all of them, as created characters don't start with any gold, weapons, or armor, but the 6 pre-made characters in the tavern start out with all of these except gold. Before you begin, you'll want to familiarize yourself with the non-fighting options. You can create a character by going to the edge of town, where you have the option of making a human, elf, dwarf, gnome, or hobbit, and then you choose your alignment of good, neutral, or evil. Be warned though, if you select evil, you cannot team up with good, and vice versa, but neutral can be in either party. Now, in order to select your class, you have to adjust your stats a certain way. Over 11 of strength gives you the option of fighter. Increase your piety past 11, and you become a priest, unless of course you're neutral. Increase your intelligence to become a mage, and increase your agility to become a thief. You will want to be a priest to determine traps in the maze once he reaches level 3, and a thief to disarm those traps. However, if you give your IQ and piety both a 12, then you can get a bishop character. He can use the spells from the priests and the mages. If you adjust your stats to 15, 11, 10, 14, 10, you can become a samurai, but only if you are good. Then there is the ninja option, a 17 in all stats, but you have to have an item for that, and be evil. Go to the tavern, as this is where you collect your party members. You can have up to 20, but only 6 can battle at one time. I would recommend at least 2 fighters before even venturing into the maze. Next, you have an inn, where you can sleep to recover hit points. After a battle, if you see a little @ symbol next to the character's name, that means he can level up. But to level up, you have to go back to the inn and then make that character sleep. Then, there is the shop. You shop for each individual party member, but you can pool money if you want to give somebody a good item. To divvy the money among all your party members, go back to the tavern and select Divvy the Money. You can also inspect each member of your party at the tavern to see what spells, items, and weapons they currently possess. And of course, what fantasy game is complete without spells? You can only use a certain amount of spells until you can have to sleep again. This is similar to Dungeons & Dragons, but the more you sleep, the older you get. After you reach age 50, your stats will start to go down, so you only have a limited time to beat the game, making this all that much harder. You check your age, of course, by choosing Inspect from the tavern or in the maze. In the beginning, I died. A lot. Just watch this video and see my characters die just by breathing. And what's insane is that it costs 250 gold to bring them back to life. You're better off just making 20 characters, the limit you can have, and making them all around the same level, because it's cheaper to create a new fighter than to bring an old one back to life, as you only collect around 30 gold or less per encounter, and you will probably lose more characters trying to go back and collect more gold to resurrect him. Also, the most frustrating part was finding out that after I made a level 4 character, it now cost 1,000 gold to bring him back. How am I supposed to get that much gold? This game is definitely hard, and you'll have to have a lot of patience to stick with it. I must have played over 2 hours before I found out that my Cid character, an evil dwarf fighter, couldn't fight at all. His only attack was to pare, which means he can only block and then be prepared to be attacked. So the lesson is, never make a dwarf fighter. After much trial and error, and of course I mean dying quite a lot, I discovered that you only want to attack slimes, orcs, and humanoids. Everything else, just run away. After level 3 you can start killing some undead, but be sure to have a mage in your party, as his Dispel spell will kill an undead instantly. Sometimes. And yes, you should run away from the bunnies. They can decapitate you. On the first floor, you can get trapped after fighting Murphy's ghost, as going back the way you came puts you in the door opposite over and over. The only way to escape is to go through a totally dark room, and I can't tell you how I even got out of there. To see the map of the dungeon and all the locations you've been to, cast this spell. I'm not going to bother pronounce any of them. It would be wise to print out a list of all the priest and mage spells for references, as you have no idea what any of them do by just looking at the title. After about 4 hours, I finally had 13 warriors ready for battle. I had to go through and battle multiple times on just the second floor. A word of warning, if you see a green slime, run. They will instantly poison you. This is also true of the ninjas at higher levels. After a while, you find a lot of different armors and weapons, but you have no idea what they do in terms of damage, and I'm not consulting a GameFAQ walkthrough as an easy way out. Maybe all the items were identified in the instruction manual, but I doubt it. Example, there are 4 armors that cost the same amount, so how are you supposed to know which one each person should wear? Again, this game is freaking hard, but on the Nintendo, I found out a cheat. If your player was killed, paralyzed, or stunned, and you couldn't afford to heal him in town, just hit reset while the battle is going on, and then when you go back into the game, hit retrieve party in your dungeon, as this was used to be a failsafe in case the power went out. But it saves you on the same square that you were at before you walked into battle. Luckily, this trick still applies in the Super Nintendo transfer, and abuse it. Abuse it to hell. I kid you not. This game's difficulty is too cruel not to want to cheat it. And of course, I didn't even find out about this reset trick until I'd been playing for a good 10 hours plus. Another annoying thing is I lost 2 of my party members for no reason whatsoever. They just decided to switch all their alliances to good, and so now I can't use them with anybody except my 3 neutral people. What the hell? There's no explanation and no way to change them back. And then don't even get me started on floor 3, which is a giant maze. Every time you land in the center of one of these things, they will either spin you around so you don't know which direction you are, but then half the time, they'll just be a trap floor, you'll fall, and almost everyone will die. And when that happens, you can't use the reset trick, and you have to somehow afford to revive all your characters. You had better be writing a map down and recording which of those are the traps. But then you don't know which of them are the traps until you run into them. Now some parts got really hard. Since gold is scarce, I usually ran around to random places and made sure I had 3 of each key and statue, because I never knew who I'd have in my party at the time. I wrote a piece of paper with everyone's name on it, then put what I had them wearing next to it so I would know who had which armor and which weapon in front of them. But then let's go back to the weapons again. I chose my Batman character and welded him in a pointed mace. Sometimes it would hit once, and then sometimes it would hit twice to deal even more damage. Then when I switched it out with the longsword, that costs much more cheaper, same thing. Am I supposed to write down every number I see and figure out the formula for each weapon and armor against each character? I literally went mad trying to see if there was a way to figure this out. Of course, you could always just get hit and then go back and sleep, but then of course you'll age. Then, I kid you not, there is a point in the game where you cannot progress any further. On the 4th floor, you walk into a door that leads into mini monsters, and they all take over 20 damage from you if they hit. Luckily, there's an alarm pad you can walk over before the door, so you instantly fight a monster, but what game forces you to level up 10 levels just to proceed? Alright, I've leveled up. Let's go kill some monsters. Well, that's what we have the secret code for. Alright, there's no way I can lose now. I've leveled up twice. Oh, come on! I'll use everything in my power, and I'll destroy you.